wangi.
Hello everybody, my name is Karryshh and welcome back to another recap video. This time it's our latest Indonesian horror movie, Nearing Death. It's about a deal with an entity, Jinn. You can find more references about jinns in Islamic cultures. They're shape-shifting supernatural beings, like demons. The storyline was simple but interesting, and if you like Indonesian horror, then you can watch this one. On top of that, if you're new here, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video, because it's the only thing that keeps me motivated to bring more of these videos. And now with that said, sit back and relax as I recap Nearing Death for you. So the movie begins with a woman named Nazim, and she was with an elderly woman named Amber. Now Amber was chanting spells and she was doing something to Nazim. Actually, it was a deal between a jinn and Nazim, where the jinn would help Nazim in return of daily offerings. However, Nazim's expression was enough to tell that she does not want to make this deal, but she has no other choice. Now, after a few years, we see Nazim, and she was actually a single mother of 3. Her children were Ratna, Danny, and Dodi. Ratna and Dodi were in school, but Danny was unemployed. Nazim wanted Danny to go find work, but he was careless. One day, Ratna and Dodi leave for school, and Nazim talks to Danny about finding work and behaving himself, but Danny does not reply properly. This turns into an argument, and Nazim tells Danny to leave her house and find someplace else to live, because she will not let Danny's behavior influence his siblings. This hurts Danny, and he leaves, promising that he will one day become a successful man. A year after this, Nazim was living a normal life. She has a diner to run, and her business was pretty good. Every day, she lights a special cigarette for the jinn as an offering, but one day, that cigarette didn't catch the fire properly, and it means Nazim failed to give the jinn its offering. Then we find out that Ratna is dating an adult man named Bram, and meanwhile Danny finally has a stable job and income. Now that night, Dodi asks Ratna for water, but she sends him to fetch it himself. Afraid of dark, Dodi goes downstairs, but he witnesses a shadow. It was roaming near the kitchen, and then out of the blue, a creepy entity scares Dodi and he runs back in the room. Ratna then fetched him water herself, and then the next day, Bram drops Ratna at the diner, where Nazim sees her daughter with that boy. Since Bram was an adult, Nazim forbids Ratna to date him, because most guys like him are just looking for hookups. Ratna apologizes, takes her and Dodi's lunch and go back home. We also meet with Rodia, Nazim's friend, who works in the diner with her. However, something was wrong that day, since the diner was empty all day long. Not only that, when people were passing from the diner, they were seeing darkened walls. A man named Kang comes to take food, and he complains about the bad walls, but Rodia did not pay attention to that. Now something was wrong, and Nazim sensed it, and then after a while, Kang comes back and he was furious. The food he got was spoiled, which doesn't make sense to the owners. Kang gets his money back, but then Nazim and Rodia finds out that everything in their diner is spoiled. They had to throw everything out, and then Nazim notices that cigarette as she figures out what the problem was. Nazim then visits Amber's place with Rodia, but when they reach that place, they get a shocking news. Amber was dead, and last night, she scratched her own face before dying. Her death happens the same day Nazim failed to pay the offering. Nazim mourns Amber's death for a while, but soon she notices that the corpse is moving. Suddenly, Amber opens her eyes and Nazim thinks of closing him, but then out of the blue, Amber throws a black liquid straight at Nazim's face. It disgusts her and she ran, screaming her lungs out. She cleans her face, but then she knew that Amber's death and the spoilage of food was no coincidence. Scene goes on Dodi, who was watching a horror movie at night, when someone knocks on their door. After a while of knocking and banging, the door opens and Dodi sees a strange lady entering the house. But when he puts on his glasses, the woman turns into Nazim. Dodi follows his mom to her room where Nazim sits in silence, and when Dodi tries to talk with her suddenly, Nazim screams at him and tells him to close the door. It scares Dodi and he runs to Ratna. He tells her everything, but Ratna does not believe. Then someone knocks on their door again, and Ratna and Dodi answers the door. Behind the door was Nazim and Rodia, who were back from work, and obviously it scares Dodi because he just saw something or someone who had taken his mother's form. Now late at night, Nazim's body starts to shake, and then she jolts awake. The radio turns on and a creepy song plays. Nazim turns off the radio, but then the lights go out. Soon the closet in her room opens by itself and that creepy entity crawls out of it. It uses its power on Nazim and picks her up in the air. Nazim struggles to breathe and then she wakes up, realizing it was just a dream. Next day, Nazim goes to Ratna's school to talk to the principal so that she can buy herself some time to pay off Ratna's school fee. But there, the principal reveals that Ratna's fees was paid off by her brother. It was a shocking news, but then Nazim called Danny and she finds out that Danny is having a good life, but she still talks to him rudely. Scene goes on Rodia, who was happily serving dozens of customers in the diner. Meanwhile, Nazim gets the news from someone else that her diner is closed today, which was strange. Nazim goes to check on her diner and she found it in a miserable state, decaying walls and rotting smell. She enters the place and her spine shivers when she witnessed dozens of evil spirits eating rotten food, and Rodia was serving them happily. Then Rodia brings dried leaves and she showed them to Nazim as if she was seeing money instead of leaves. It means Rodia was in an illusion set by the jinn. Nazim snaps Rodia out of that illusion and then the two go to visit a priest. Nazim tells everything to the priest and then he does a little spell to figure out what's happening with Nazim. Soon the priest finds out that there's a jinn behind all this and he tells the jinn to reveal itself. Suddenly, the jinn takes over Nazim's body and then the jinn says that her name is Niawangi and this priest should stay away from her. It means it was a female jinn. She injures the priest before leaving Nazim's body. The priest was then helpless and he warns Nazim that it's all her fault. She made a deal with Niawangi and she failed to pay her offerings on a daily basis. The jinn is now upset and it will destroy her family. The priest couldn't help her and he made Nazim and Rodia leave. After this, Nazim and Rodia go back to visit Amber's place in hope that they'll meet someone who would help him, but no one answered the door. They were about to leave when the door to Amber's house opens on its own and Nazim goes to check inside. She looks here and there, but the jinn was following her, and in the end, the jinn comes just behind her and Nazim screams her lungs out. Scene goes on Brahm and Ratna, where Ratna was at Brahm's place, and then happens what her mother warned her about. Brahm tries forcing himself on her. Ratna resists and pushes Brahm away, and the two broke up afterwards. At night, Nazim and Rodia come back to Nazim's house, but now Nazim was not speaking. Rodia tells Ratna to take care of her mother and call her if something goes wrong. However, in this scene, Dodi watches that someone is following his mother. Now when Rodia leaves, Ratna and Dodi starts hearing their mother from the bathroom. The two go to check her out, but their spines shiver when they see their mother bathing herself in boiling water. It burned her skin and her kids immediately stopped her. Dodi runs to fetch a towel, but Niawangi did not let him fetch the towel that easily. Well, somehow they escape this horror and then put their mother to bed. They take care of her burnt skin, but soon Nazim starts throwing up a black liquid. Ratna then calls her brother, but he was busy at the moment. After a while, things take a worse turn, and now together with Nazim, Dodi was restless too. That jinn was making Dodi have a seizure. Ratna had no clue what she should do, but luckily her brother calls back and she tells him everything. Danny told Ratna to stay calm and call Aunt Rodia. Ratna then runs to Rodia's place during a storm, and when she came back with Rodia, Danny also arrives there. The three go inside the place, but now Nazim and Dodi were missing, cause now Nazim was completely possessed and she was bathing Dodi without his will in the bathroom. When the three witnessed this, they stopped Nazim and saved Dodi. They put Nazim to bed, where she calms down, and then the next day, she just stays there without saying a word. Her kids stay by her side and nothing happens the entire day. Then around evening, Nazim talks and she reveals what's happening. Actually, you see, when Nazim's husband died, she was heartbroken, but other than that, she was also broke. Nazim needed a way to take care of her kids, and that was why she made a deal with that jinn. The jinn was supposed to help Nazim in her business in return of a simple offering, but Nazim failed to give the offering one day, and now the jinn is angry. The kids understand that whatever is happening is cause Nazim wants a better future for all of them. They all get emotional, and then the room's door opens by itself, and Dodi sees that jinn outside. Dodi tells this to Danny, who goes to check it out, but the jinn ends up locking him outside. The jinn takes over Nazim's body again and she jumped off the bed, pushed Ratna away and started screaming her lungs out. The jinn makes Nazim hit her head in a window repeatedly. Danny somehow enters the room after breaking the door, but now Nazim uses a piece of broken glass to make big cuts on her skin before she attacks on her kids. Everyone escaped evil Nazim and they somehow lock her up in the room. The next day, Danny, Ratna and Dodi checks on their mother and they find her in the room, struggling with everything. They put her to bed, treats her wounds again, and then they decide to pray in their room in hope that the jinn will go away. They soon start the prayers, but it only makes the jinn more mad. Soon Nazim starts screaming that she's hungry and she needs food. She screams again and again and loses her control, but this time Ratna and Danny holds her down and they tie her up on the bed. Now at night, Danny invites some people over along with a local priest, and they all were going to pray in Nazim's room in hope that the jinn will go away. Soon they all start the prayers, but obviously it affects Nazim and she begins screaming again. The prayers stay continuous for a while, but in the end, Nazim sat upright and she tells everyone in the room that their prayers are useless. Everyone got on their feet and then the local priest tries to exorcise Nazim, but the jinn was so strong that it picked up the priest and smashed him into a wall, which ended with him dying horribly. Everyone takes the dead priest out and once again Nazim was locked in a room. The siblings had no clue what should they do, and then the entire night Nazim cries and cries and cries for help, which makes it impossible for the siblings to sleep. Scene goes on Rodia, who was coming to check on Nazim, but she couldn't, cause Nia Wangi came to pay her a visit and scared her back to her house. Rodia hides in her house when out of the blue, the jinn ends up attacking her. Now next day, Rodia had plans to take Nazim to a priest named Kyahai, who can help her, and that was why 3 friends of Danny were tying possessed Nazim, prepping her for the travel. However, Rodia was not picking up her phone. Danny goes to check on Rodia and he finds out that last night Rodia died mysteriously. We all know how that happened, but at least before dying, Rodia wrote down the address to that priest's home. Now Danny, Ratna, Dodi and Danny's 3 friends take Nazim to their priest. All the way, Nazim just screams and cries, and that priestess place was actually in the middle of the woods. They all had to go there on foot after reaching a certain distance. Soon the prayer time begins and everyone had to stop their journey for a while. They stop at a gazebo and prayed. But Doji sees that jinn over her mother while praying. When the prayers end, everyone gets a shock because Nazim was no longer there. Now instantly, Danny and his three friends began searching for Nazim deep in the woods. After a while, two friends came across possessed Nazim, but Nazim roared, jumped on one guy and stabbed him to his death with a wooden cube. Nazim then did the same with the second man and ran away. After a while, Danny and his last remaining friend find those corpses and they both were heartbroken. Now when Danny was busy mourning the deaths of his friends, demonic Nazim came and she murdered the last remaining friend as well. And Danny couldn't do much but scream and scream and scream. Scene goes on Ratna and Doji, who were at the gazebo when they see their mother. Obviously, the two go to check on her and then evil Nazim attacks on him. Ratna and Doji ran for their lives, but Nazim chased him, laughing in a really creepy tone. In the end, Nazim grabs Doji, but Danny came and he saved his brother. Evil Nazim then attacks on Danny and she was about to kill him, but in the last moment came Priest Kyai and he uses a big bat to knock Nazim out. Priest and everyone else then brought Nazim to Priest's home, where the priest reveals that it might be impossible to save Nazim since the jinn had latched itself with Nazim's soul. However, the priest can try to send this jinn away from this family, and for that, the priest asks Danny to go and fetch a coconut as well as soil from Amber's grave because she was the one who caused this thing. Danny obviously agrees and the priest gives him a bottle of holy water before he leaves. Then Ratna, Doji and priest sits down around Nazim and they begin to pray for her soul. After a while of travel, Danny arrives near Amber's grave, but when he was taking soil from it, suddenly he sees that the soil is filled with maggots. Danny then hears voices from other spirits who were telling him to not take the soul, but Danny somehow takes the soil and then out of blue, dozens of evil spirits gathered around Danny. They encircle him and tell him to not take the soil, but Danny uses the holy water to protect himself, making the spirits go away. Back on Nazim, who starts puking black liquid, and then the powerful jinn once again takes over her body. Everyone spaces away from Nazim and then she turns completely into a different being. Nazim tells the priest to stay out of this deal and then she attacks on him. However, priest uses his holy bat and he hit Nazim away. Then Nazim turns upside down and she fights with the priest. She does a backflip and kicks the priest away. She showcases her evil powers, but in the end of that fight, the priest wins and he throws Nazim out of his house. Nazim fell unconscious and when the priest go to check her out, suddenly Nazim wakes up and she bites a huge chunk of priest's neck, fatally injuring him in the process. Now there was no one to stop Nazim, so she picks up a sword and goes to murder Ratna and Doji. She was out of control, but as they say, a mother is always a mother. In the end, when Nazim saw her son's innocent face, she somehow stopped herself. She fought with the demon inside her body and for a while she calms down, but that didn't last for long. Soon the jinn takes over again and Nazim attacked on her children. She was about to unalive him when Danny came back with that soil and coconut. Danny handles her mother and now injured priest used the coconut water and a spell to calm Nazim down. Whatever spell the priest did, it works after 2 attempts and the jinn sleeps for a while. Now everyone put Nazim down and they sit around her. The priest gave Danny, Doji and Ratna holy coconut water which they used to massage their mother's body. The priest also put the soil on Nazim's body as he chants some spell, and this ritual worked because the jinn finally leaves her mother in a really calm way. However, her body was fatally injured, and when Nazim come to her senses, she knew that she's taking her final breaths. In those final moments, Nazim said goodbye to her children and apologizes for everything she'd done. She then died, and her children mourned her death, knowing that at least their mother's soul is resting in peace. Scene goes a few days later where now the diner is run by those siblings, but in the end, we see that something is wrong with the Ratna. Actually, now the jinn Nia Wangi is residing inside of her, and this is where the movie ends. So this was the recap video on the movie Nearing Death, and I hope you have liked it. If you have, then please subscribe the channel and like this video. I really need your support to grow further. If you want to watch this movie, there's a link to my Telegram channel in the description box. If that link does not work, just go to Telegram and put my channel's name in the search bar. Now what I do, I will provide the movie on a different Telegram channel and delete it after 7 days for obvious reasons. So if you're watching this video after 7 days, sorry man, you missed this one. If you don't want to miss more, make sure to subscribe and like this video. I'm mostly active on Insta, so you can follow me there as well. And look into my other channel where we discuss about the mysteries of the world. All the links are in the description box. For now, I'll see you all in the next one. Till then, stay awake, cause they always see you.